Welcome. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to the first special topic session, office hours session of 2020. I'm very lucky today because we have not just our 3 usual panel members, but actually 4 or even 5 really, because we've got Barbara here with us as well, helping to monitor the chat. So we've managed to assemble a team of some really great reporting wizards. I'm very grateful to all of them for giving up their time to be with us. So because this is one of our special topic sessions, we do a bit more show and tell than usually on office hours. So each of the panel members has something that they're going to talk to you and show you one of their favorite or 1 or 2 of their favorite tricks. Please ask questions as we go along. As usual, please put your questions in the chat first, which is how we know what's coming up. But because we are going to talk about reports today, and more specifically the kind of reports that you'll be doing at the end of the year, please keep your questions or give us questions about reports. We'll be coming back with another Q&A session fairly soon, general Q&A session fairly soon. What else to say? I just wanted to remind everybody, none of us work for Salesforce.org. We are volunteering our time and talents because we enjoy sharing what we know and helping to problem solve. There are quite a lot of you on the call. If you wouldn't mind, please mute yourself unless you're presenting or answering a question. And I am recording this session, and I have to do a bit of post-processing, but then the sessions get posted to the Hub Office Hours playlist. So without further ado, let's see, roughly, we are going to talk, Evan is going to go first because I'm very grateful that he's actually joining us from an airport gate. You will hear some announcements in the background. So he's going to talk to us briefly and then go off and catch a flight. Then Skye's up. She's going to talk about how you can do sort of some filters to look at things week over week, and also this kind of how are you doing in the year so far. Gorav has a kind of registration report, I believe, that he's done, so sort of showing year-over-year trends. And Steve, I'm very glad we've got Steve as well, because he knows so many tricks about how to look at things year-over-year and year-to-date that he's forgotten more about reports, I think, than most of us ever knew. So I'm very glad to have everybody, and Barbara, thank you, is going to help monitoring the chat and answering your questions. So let's get going. Evan, if I make you the presenter, are you ready to talk to us? And I think you're going to talk a bit about your wonderful trick with custom report types, and then maybe a little bit about also how your organization deals with year-on-year reporting.
Absolutely. Yep, so let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Sorry, I muted myself too quickly. Yes, absolutely, can see your screen.
Perfect. So my number 1 trick I want to cover today was what I call the deluxe report type paradigm. Essentially, I have tried to simplify the entire environment around custom report types and make it very clear what you're able to include in a custom report type so that you can reference any field from that object or any field from any parent object, working your way up your data architecture hierarchy. A lot of the standard report types in Salesforce are great, but you're not able to customize them. So I've gone ahead and created just a single custom report type for every single object that I need to report on in my org. And I just give it a naming convention of whatever the name of the object is, and then deluxe in parentheses. And you'll see I have one for accounts, I have one for contacts, I have one for opportunities, I have one just about for every single object that we actually use and need to report on. And the concept is actually really simple. So I'm going to go ahead and create one here so you can see just how easy it is to get started with this philosophy. For the primary object, you want to choose the object that should show up as rows in your report. Essentially, if you run that report in what used to be called tabular view, or when you're looking at all the details, when you have that details toggled on, each row is going to show you a record from the primary object. So I've chosen opportunities here. I'm going to call this opportunities deluxe. And in the description, I'm going to say every row represents an opportunities record. Then as you are adding additional fields, which I'll show you how to do, you can come back to this description and say this includes fields from the account object, from the primary contact, if you're in a nonprofit org, which most of you probably are, and any other fields from any other objects you are traversing. You can just include the object name here in the description. And that'll help you so much as you build new fields on your objects. You can come search for that object in all of your descriptions and know where to add that new field to. The one downside right now for working with custom report types is when you add new fields to your org, they're not automatically added to your custom report types. So this is something you will have to manage, but as you will soon see, this is a very tailored experience that you can create for your organization to really simplify the entire world of reporting. So I'm going to give it a description, put it in a category. I want to mark this report type as deployed so that you and your users can run reports. Then I'm going to go to this page. This is the second step of creating a custom report type, and this is actually the hardest step to get through. You actually want to do nothing at all on this page. All we're going to do in this report type is leave opportunities as our primary object, and we're going to resist the urge to relate any other objects on this screen. All we need to do here is click save. And just like that, we've created a custom report type, but we're not quite done yet. I really wish this was step 3 of the wizard, but if you scroll down to the bottom of the custom report type you just created and hit edit layout, there's a wonderful world of flexibility and customization here. This is going to show you all the fields that are available in the report builder when you use this custom report type. By default, all of the fields from your primary object are included in a section. So I have my opportunities was my primary object, so all my opportunities fields are here. If I ever add a new opportunity field, it's going to show up in the panel on the right over here. So you can scroll through and drag that over. And just above that, there's this add fields related via lookup that should probably be about 10 times bigger and have fireworks, because this is where all of the magic happens. When you click this button, you will see all of the lookup and master detail fields that exist on your primary object. And you can go ahead and traverse any one of those relationships, and now you can access any of the fields from that object. So if I go up to like my primary contact for the opportunity, I can now include any contact field that exists on that object. So if I want to know the email for that person, maybe their full name, their last name, separate some things out, what level they give at, if you have a field like that. You have all their mailing address. You have your power of one fields if you want to count how many contacts there are, so on and so forth. You can go through and select all the fields you need to report on. And what I would strongly urge you to do is not click select all. There is a 1,000 field limit to your custom report type. So take this opportunity to tailor the experience for your users and make sure you're only bringing in fields that have value, fields that you're actually using, fields that you want to report on in your reports. You don't need to have some of your background fields that are just making sure your automation runs correctly, and definitely don't include any fields that you're not using in your organization or that have no data in them. So once you get the fields selected from that object, you can click OK. They will be added to your layout, and they'll have this little magnifying glass that lets you know that field came from a relationship. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you at the bottom in the lookup path, this came from opportunities, we traversed up to the contact, and now we're looking at the last name field. What I like to do as I bring in fields from other objects, I like to create a new section in my custom report type for that object, just to keep things organized. And you can select all of the fields you brought in, holding down Control or using the Shift key, and you can drag all of those fields into that new section. And you can keep doing that for other objects. So we have our opportunity fields, we have the contact fields we need, but maybe we want some other fields from the account. Well, we can traverse that account relationship, and now we can bring in this active checkbox, we can bring in the billing street address, maybe we want to know the number of accounts, our power of one field, and really any other fields we have on the account, they can be brought into this report type. All of these fields can be used as columns. All of these fields can be used in filters on the report. They are now part of your report builder for that custom report type. So again, I'm going to create a section because I'm bringing in fields from another object. I'm going to highlight everything that I just brought in and drag it into that field. You can go bananas with this, right? As long as you're bringing in valuable fields, you can bring in up to 1,000 fields from up to 60, that's 60 different unique objects into your report type builder. I've gone as high as 10, 12, 15 different unique objects, and I have not seen any performance issues. As long as you're filtering down your reports to not look at, millions of records over all of time, this tends to work just great without any problems. So once you get all of your valuable fields in your report type, there's a couple other things on this page that are immensely useful. If you double click on any one of these fields, you have a couple different options for customizing how this field behaves in this report type. The first option here is the display as value. So as you keep adding fields from other objects and traversing all these relationships, these names, these default names, will be a very long string showing you all the relationships you traversed. But you can easily shorten that up and just make this something very short and sweet so that when you are grouping by this field, you don't have this extra long name. So I highly recommend shortening up your names where it makes sense and use something valuable. This also gives you the opportunity to totally rename this field in the custom report type. And this does not affect that field's API name. It does not affect the display name when you're looking at it like on a record. It only affects how this field's label is displayed in this custom report type. So if you have a team or a department that wants to call this something completely different, like active accounts instead of, accounts : active, you can make that tweak here. And it will display that way in any reports you run using this custom report type. The other option you have is this checked by default option. This lets you create a template for this custom report type. Any of the fields you have marked as checked by default will automatically be included as columns anytime you create a brand new report using this report type. So it's a great way to jumpstart your users, get them some of the fields that they are probably looking for anyways, and whatever order they show up in this report type layout, like we'll have opportunity name here, and then this account active checkbox will be the second column. That's how they're going to show up as columns in your report. And that's pretty much it. So once you get your deluxe report type built out, it is a wonderful way to consolidate all of your reporting and just start building reports using these custom report types. I'm going to switch over now and talk a little bit about how we're using this as well as year-over-year reporting in our organization. So here I have a donor analysis dashboard, and all of these source reports are using a deluxe report type. I'll tell you that right now. It's basically just one report. I might have saved it 3 or 4 times just to get the groupings to be different, but it's all looking at the same data. And our fundraising team just wanted to break down the same 4 KPIs, but in a bunch of different ways. So they might want to see, the 4 stats they have are how many donors do we have, how many gifts did they give us, and what is the amount of those gifts. And the 4th thing is what is the average amount. So all I'm doing is breaking that down by a type field from the account object. I break that down based on record types from the opportunity. I break it down on this first time versus returning donors attribute I have on the contact record. I can break it down by age, by level, by gender, any information we have on any of the objects from opportunity, working our way up our architecture, up to account or contact. We can use all of those fields as groupings. Another thing I'll show you here is I'm using dashboard filters to make this very dynamic for my team. They have these 4 KPIs, but they want to know those KPIs for various time frames. Sometimes it's the current fiscal year, sometimes the previous fiscal year, sometimes they want to combine fiscal years. And also, if you're working on with calendar years, this will work exactly the same way. My organization is very tied to their fiscal year, but you could set this up just to be calendar years if you want. But give them the option to toggle for the time frame that makes sense for them, so they can see these stats without having to bother you to create a new report or create a new dashboard. The only thing you have to keep in mind there is your source reports need to have their time frame set to a fairly large range. You can use all of time if you don't have any performance issues with that, or set it to the largest time frame you would want to allow your team to filter for. Like in my case, they only look at the previous 5 years of data, so I really don't need anything larger than that. I'll show you another example where we're doing some year-over-year comparisons. So same team, same sort of stats, but they want to see how do you compare the current year to the previous year. And all you have to do for that on your dashboard is first set up your source reports to be grouped by year or by fiscal year, whatever makes sense. Then you add a filter at the top here. And if I want to toggle my opportunity close date to be different relative time periods, I set the operator to equals, I use a relative time period, and I type in here last year. There's a whole long list of the different values you can use for relative date time periods as filters. It's the same in reports that you're going to use here on the dashboards. But you can keep adding all the different time frames you want to see. So if I do another one for 2 years ago, I can set that up. If I want to do a year-over-year comparison, I can add another value here and just separate the values with commas. So if I wanted to compare last year to 2 years ago, I would do last year, comma, 2 years ago. And since all of my source reports are grouped by year, when I choose that option, they will see those 2 years compared to each other. You can set this up for year over year. You could do year over year over year if you wanted to see 3 years in a row, or so on and so forth. As many different year groupings as you have, set those up, and now you can just toggle from your time frame filter for any of the time frames that your team is interested in. Last thing I'll show you, I'm doing the same sort of thing for our programming team. So they have a ton of different events. This is all using campaign records, but the exact same idea. All my source reports are grouped by year. They have this time frame option. I put in a bunch of options for them, give them pretty labels so they know what it is, and they can toggle for any time frame they want. All these things I'm talking about are posted on a blog that I contribute to. It's called reportforce.blog. So definitely remember that URL, type that in. At the very bottom of the screen, you can subscribe and you'll get our new blog posts delivered right to your inbox. The one post I want to highlight is this ultimate guide to report types, the deluxe report types. That is actually a whole series. It goes into great detail about how to set up a deluxe report type, all the different ins and outs of what you can do with it, and transitioning your organization from your current implementation of reports and report types over to this new deluxe report type model. And the last thing I'll leave you with is I'm working on a post right now that should be posted either later today or maybe this weekend that goes into detail about some of the magic I'm doing with these dashboard filters and allowing you to toggle between whole time frames like the current year versus last year. And then in the same filter, I can switch to a what I call partial time frame or a to-date time frame, like fiscal year to date versus last year's fiscal year to date. So it's a little bit involved, so I wanted to get the blog post written up for that, hopefully for this call, but I didn't have enough time, so I will get that out as soon as possible. But please, if you're interested in that, follow us, subscribe to reportforce.blog, and I'll definitely get that information out to you.
Wow.
Thanks so much for
Okay.
having me.
Fantastic. No, that's absolutely great, Evan. I mean, it's really interesting, this idea that you do that whole standardizing. This is one of the things I've been kind of, as I've been watching you, I'm intrigued about that you really sort of start, because so many people have a mixture, don't they? They have the standard report types that kind of created as they do objects. They might have a bunch of NPSP reports, and then some people have some custom reports as well. And I'm intrigued that you decided to just sort of sweep the whole thing out and start with this one way. It must have been a lot of work originally to get it set up
Yes,
that
it was
way.
quite the endeavor the first time. Once you get it set up, so I came to a new organization with a new implementation. It is like the beautiful use case to prove that this actually works. They have about 12 report types total in their entire org, and everybody knows exactly which one to use to get the report they want.
Fantastic. So you're getting, there are some people are totally mind blown by it. There are a whole load of comments going about, he's going so fast. Yeah, we know he's got a plane to catch. But don't worry, everybody. We're busy posting links for other places that you've talked about this. You did a presentation at Dreamforce, I believe, as well. Will that
Correct.
give people some more of this material? We'll post the link for that. There's your blog post, which is fantastic. And yeah, we will get this recording sorted out. But it feels like if people wanted to learn more right sort of today or immediately when this call's finished, reportforce.blog seems like that's the place to go and
Absolutely.
figure this out. Yeah. And I'm also I think looking at that dashboard of yours, that really shows the power of the dashboard filters when you've done that sort of standardizing of reports in the way that you've done, so that there are so many common fields between the reports. You can really see how the power of the dashboard filters there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody says they want to do a mind meld with you, Evan. Okay. So yeah, we do need to let Evan go catch a plane. I'm just looking. Somebody else is saying about the long report labels. A couple of people about the long report labels and how great it is that you can change the names of the fields with some caution not to confuse people by going for completely different names. And also back right at the beginning for Lisa's great tip, which is if you start with a particular report type, as in Evan's case, it was opportunities, do also take the opportunity to tidy up that object as well and remove some fields that you'd never use in a report. Great. Does anyone have any immediate questions for Evan? No, you're just getting lots of thank you, thank you, thank you.
How do you
So
follow that?
we'll try and switch gears and do something completely different. But thank you.
I wasn't gonna let him leave without posting a link in the chat to his how to count the number of date groupings post.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about mind blowing? That's.
Yeah. Did you get that tips and tricks article in there?
Yeah, I threw it in the chat.
Okay, cool.
I was gonna let you leave without that one.
There's too much to cover. We have like 4 different presenters, so I know I went a little bit fast, but I wanted to give other people some time. But yes, I have plenty of tips and tricks if anybody wants to reach out, and I'm happy to share those with you.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much. I've got your the link bookmarked to the podcast that you did with Mike Gerholt, so I'll post that, and also the link you sent me for the Dreamforce presentation. So we'll post those as well. Thank you very much indeed, Evan, and safe flight. And come back and join us at office hours again sometime, and we'll try and do some more mind meld with you.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. All right. Sorry, Skye. I'm going to hand over the presentation to you now. Are you ready? Are you kind of mind blown too?
Well, I'm definitely mind blown. And I mean, talk about setting the bar high. Like,
all right. Okay. We'll all
can't get much higher than that.
All right, we'll all take a little breath now and we'll come down from the heights. And because we may all, of course, be we're probably, when none of us are in the kind of necessarily in the lucky position of Steve, of being able to make start with a completely new org and just blow everything away. So bearing in mind that we may already have some things, let's do a few more tips and tricks that can kind of help people who already have a bunch of reports to work with. Take it away.
Next. Great. And are you able to see the home screen for my demo org?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So I'm going to touch on a few things that it has come to my attention is not always readily apparent, but as great as it is to work with existing fields to build amazing reports, sometimes a few simple additional fields built specifically for the purpose of reporting can really help you to drill down into your data, extract relevant information, and present it in a more useful or constructive way. So I've got two examples that I'm going to use of ways where creating additional fields can help you create just amazing reports. The first one is going to be the ability to break out your reporting not only year over year or month by month or quarter by quarter, which you can already do with Salesforce standard report grouping, but to be able to set up a PACE report that allows you to show week over week data. And so whenever you're looking at your opportunities as they're being closed, a lot of times my customers will say that they have particular campaigns or appeals that they run around the same time of the year. And so being able to track how their donations are pacing down to the week level is really important for them to be able to see the impact of those particular campaigns or appeals. And to be able to do this, you really only need to create one simple field. And I'm happy to share the formulas either in the chat afterwards or in the hub itself. But to be able to create your PACE report by week on the opportunity record, you're just creating one formula field for the week of the year. And this is calculating based on the close date of that opportunity, what week of the year that opportunity lands in. So if something closes on January 2nd, it's going to be week 1. If it closes on December 30th, it will be week 52. Once you've created that, and of course it's a formula, so if you're having to update your close date before the opportunity closes, it will always be current and in time. The report example I have is showing just closed 1 opportunities, but it's also a great way for you to be able to keep track of those that are still in your pipeline. For being able to actually show this wonderful report, literally all you're doing is what probably many of you already do of grouping by the close date. But in this case, the close date is first, it's grouped by calendar year. Once you've got everything grouped by calendar year by row, you're then adding a group of columns or group by column with that week of year field. Pretty simple, right? Any questions so far?
Some likes, no questions. You're doing
Super. Great. I always like to add a visual in there. So the line chart allowing you to show that comparison of the year over year. To Evan's point before, if you work on a fiscal year basis, of course, you can group by fiscal year instead of calendar year. But that number of weeks is still going to be consistent. You would just need to edit your formula to say sort of where the start of the year is as opposed to it being in January. Now I said this was super simple. That's literally all of it for being able to show a PACE report for week year over year. A couple of things that I've had customers do is to further group this by campaign. So if they want to be able to see, for instance, their holiday campaign, or if you've got a particular campaign that you run at the same time of the year every year, you could just add additional filters in here based on the primary campaign source and be able to filter those down even more. Another option, if you have your major donors, you could even filter this down further to be able to show the PACE report for individual households or for individual donors, which your folks who have to manage that portfolio may find really helpful to see if an individual is on pace with their year over year giving.
Skye, do you just for a moment want to go back to how you grouped by the close date? Because I think people don't always know how wonderfully flexible close date can be.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to hop back into edit. And so first, of course, you use the lookup here to pick which field you want to be able to group by. And then once you have that first grouping, the drop down arrow on that field allows you to pick how you want to group by that field. So being able to pick by month or quarter or year, fiscal versus calendar. And then once you have anything grouped by row, you then have the option to add in a group by column, which gives you what used to be in Salesforce Classic, more of that matrix view of a report. There's also an option, so of course this is grouped by the week of year next. There's also some Salesforce documentation about doing additional groupings, and opportunities in particular already have a second close date field created so that you could group, for instance, first by maybe calendar year and then group again by month to further break that out. And so you would be able to use the same date, but then have it grouped in a secondary way.
That's great, and that's one of my favorite features too. I think it's brilliant that you can do those so many different things with the close dates. And
yeah, and if you've got a custom object that also has a date field on it, creating that second copy date field allows you to do this on any object. So if you're by registrations or attendance, anything that has a date field on it.
Perfect, thank you. Okay.
Great.
So I think you had one more.
I did have one more. So another thing that's come up that I've come across before, and it's kind of close to the PACE report, but really wanting to be able to see what a donor has given last year, but not in total using the NPSP standard total gifts last year field, but what have they given last year up to today? So how are they tracking as far as being a leading or lagging donor based on giving last year to date? And so there are, full disclosure, there are a couple more fields that you have to create to be able to accomplish this. But the end result is that at this point, I've done this on the account level. So being able to track whether accounts are leading, lagging, or the same as last year. But by being able to create a couple of different formulas using NPSP's customizable roll-ups, you're able to track based on this day. So as of January 24th, what has someone given up to today compared to January 24th of 2019. And I will get as granular or as high level as anybody would like, but basically you're having to create fields on the opportunity to identify both the day of the year today and the day of the year of the close date. So counting how many days from January 1st, and then a formula field that compares those two to let you know whether this opportunity closed on or before this day of the year, regardless of the year that it closed. Then on the account, using the customizable roll-ups and filters, creating a field called last year, giving last year to date, which will roll up and sum the amount of all donations that were closed won last year, but only up till today. So if I didn't give any donations until the end of the year, those donations won't show up in this roll-up field until I've passed that same day this year. It's also using the NPSP total gifts last year roll-up that just comes with NPSP. And then the lead lag formula runs a couple of comparisons. It does have some criteria to make sure that it's returning nothing if someone either hasn't given more than once or didn't give last year. And then being able to say whether they're giving at exactly the same level as of today, whether they're lagging behind what they gave last year, or whether they're leading ahead.
And of course, you can adapt this for the fiscal year, can't you? By at the moment, you have 1/1, which is January 1st. If once somebody wanted to do it for their fiscal year, they would swap out that one of those ones, the first one, wouldn't it be, for whichever is the month that their fiscal year begins?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also your customized roll-ups would have the fiscal year box so that the
That's true.
NPSP standards and the roll-up would be by fiscal year instead of calendar year.
Yeah. And I think, go ahead.
This is Barbara. Can I ask a question? Can you explain how this is different than the sort of end day roll-ups that NPSP comes with? Where it's like 306 today minus 365 or today minus whatever you set end to if you're still using the old roll-ups.
Oh, well, I can't necessarily answer that because
Well,
I haven't used the end roll-ups in I can't remember how long.
I know.
Barbara,
Some people are still on the old roll-ups, yeah.
do you want to explain, Barbara?
Oh, sure. And I think customizable roll-ups also comes with this. The one thing I don't know is whether includes today. That's the thing I can't remember. I was going to try to look it up in the documentation. Maybe one of the other experts knows. Is both customizable roll-ups and old roll-ups, if you haven't switched yet, I know several of my clients haven't, have an N day, N as in Nancy, day feature where you can set it to, I think it's set out of the box to 365, which is basically a rolling set number of days. It's looking backwards for donations. So I have clients who want to look 18 months, that's their engagement window. So they will put in however many days that is, 18 months. And so that they always have a number rolling back. I don't think it counts today though. I do think I can't remember if that's a nightly roll up or a immediate roll up, but it will give you that sort of same rolling number without a formula. But I think yours has that really great. It's from today exactly. So that's nice.
I'm sorry.
If you're in the middle of a big campaign and you're really trying to see where people are, then that's a really handy tip.
Yeah, I was hearing end date, not end the number end. And
yeah,
so I was very confused and thinking like I'm going to have to do some homework on this. To your point, and just illustrating on the screen for folks, the number of gifts last end days or total gifts given last end days, that is a rolling 365 by default, but I have a lot of folks who do change that to be like the last 30 days or last 90 days. And so because, for instance, it's an NPSP field, you can't change the N, you can only change the help text. Having something that explicitly calls out giving last year to date, really just being able to clarify that. But it's also, as you can see in this example, what they gave from January 1st to January 24th last year was only $2,000, but what they've given in the last 365 days is $1,206. So it would not provide you the exact same day by day, year over year comparison.
And I think it's that year over year thing which is so valuable about that formula, isn't it? Because you could do if you get to the end of January this year, you could say, well, it feels like maybe we're doing really well or maybe we're not doing so well. Let's look at how it compares to last year and maybe the year before and maybe the year before that. How am I doing on track for this month versus it compared across several years? That's the real beauty of this formula, isn't it? Or
right,
how
and
am
also
I doing in this campaign at this stage? Yeah, sorry.
Right, and also since things like Giving Tuesday might actually fall on different days of week, well, not days of week, but different weeks of the year, you would very easily be able to see when you're getting up to those really important campaigns, how is someone doing based on this day last year?
Yep.
Great.
Fantastic.
I will go ahead and stop sharing then.
Okay.
And thank you all so much.
Yeah, we'll give people a moment. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Everyone's being very quiet and no, there's a nice comment. Thank you, Felice. Says she'll be coming back to this recording a lot because there's plenty of material here. I've also seen, and it's interesting because you've done this with several fields, Skye, done the formula, which I think in some ways is possibly less confusing. I've also seen it kind of combined into one. So if you're somebody feels like their formula skills are really good, you can just do it into one checkbox. So we'll have to post that as well. Great. Okay. Well, Rob, thank you. No, that's brilliant.
And
okay.
Rob had a quick question.
Yes.
Maybe people can answer in chat. He's wondering if people are still using Power of One, or are they all switching over to the new Show Unique Count feature in Salesforce?
Well, since
Power
we
of
have,
One is being Steve's.
yeah, well, since we have Steve on the call, I mean, Steve, what's your feeling about this new?
I like Count Unique, but there are a few caveats. First one is, and I kind of stumbled onto this, it is not counting the number of unique records. It is counting the number of unique values in that field or column.
Oh.
So if you have duplicate account names, contact names, or any duplicate values in that field that you're doing Count Unique on, it's not going to give you distinct records unless you use it on a unique field in Salesforce like record ID. So one thing to be mindful of. Now, one nice thing about that, is that it does solve an age-old problem of a lot of times people want to know how many pick list values were selected in this report. And you couldn't do that before with a formula field or anything like that. So Count Unique does help solve that problem, but you do have to be mindful that if the field that you're using it on is not unique across the board, don't lean on it for count of unique records. I would use the Power One still for that. Also, I believe right now there's a limit of 3 per report. With the Power One, you're only limited by the number of objects and Power One fields in a report. I mean, Power One, you could, if you did use things like opportunity products or something like that, you could have user, account, opportunity, and opportunity products. That's one thing. Also, I mean, it's Lightning only. Power One will work in Classic or Lightning, so if you haven't made the switch yet, that's another consideration. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm all negative on Count Unique. I mean, it's a long time coming, and I think that it's a great tool. Also, another benefit of Count Unique over the Power One is any user can use it right away. I've run into situations where I suggest the Power One and the person is not an admin and they work for an organization where getting a custom field added is like an act of Congress. So, Count Unique, they can do it right then and there themselves. Whereas if don't have admin permissions or you have a long protracted process internally to get a custom field added, you could be waiting days, weeks, months, and you could ultimately get the answer, no, you can't have it. Whereas Count Unique, you can do it on your own. So it's I'm a fan, but I still think the Power One still has some life left in it, some value.
Perfect, thank you, and thank you. Rob says yes. Thank you very much for the answer, Carrie. Thank you for posting the notes about it in the release note about the unique field. And yes, folks, if you don't know what Steve is talking about with the Power of One, you should. I hope everybody on this call knows what you're talking about. But
I mean, after Evan and Skye, that's all I had left. I was like, I literally was going to show my year-to-date formula, and when you started showing that, I started scrambling and going, okay, I'm going to show how to do multiple date groupings within a report.
So,
we need to have a free call meeting.
With your, how do you do your year-to-date formula same way that Skye was doing it, or is it all in one field? How do you do it?
Very similar. I use basically the same math. I'm counting down from whatever date field it is, whether it's opportunity close date or case create date or custom record create date, and you really are. You're just counting. Like no matter whether it's a leap year or not, every year is always going to begin on January 1st. So you're really just counting the number of days from January 1st of that year to whatever date that record closed on or was created on, whatever you're using to measure. And then you're counting the same number of days from January 1st of this year to today's current date, and then you're just doing simple math. Is the date on this record less than or equal to today's date of the year? Really, not even the date of the year. Think of it almost like the number of the day of the year. Are we 100 days into the month? Okay, did this record come in the first 100 days of the month? If it did, return a checked checkbox, and that is your filter criteria. And the beautiful thing about Skye's approach is that it's, for the users, it's dynamic, and for the admins also, it's beautiful because it's dynamic. You're not, as the days and weeks and months roll forward throughout the year, you never have to edit that report filter criteria ever again and change the date range. Your report filter is literally, is this checkbox field checked? If it is, then include that record in the report results. And then the next day, the formula is going to recalculate, and if there are a day's worth of more records that fall into the criteria of your report, they're going to show up every day, every week, every month, and January 1st, the whole thing resets. You never have to touch that report filter ever again. It's a great little trick. I mean, I have one left, but I mean, it's like it's a very similar approach where somebody wanted to see how they were doing within the current month in comparison to previous months, but they wanted to see how they're doing as of this day of the month. So if they are on the 15th day of the month, or in the case of today, we're on the 24th of the month, they wanted to see how they're doing compared to the first 24 days of the month before, the month before, the month before. And it's a very similar approach that I took. I created a formula checkbox field, and there's a function called, and I don't know if you want me to share my screen, I could show it to you. Let me see. Yeah, this one. Here we go. I've got dual monitors, and I apologize. I'm trying out the beta version of Chrome, and it's a little bit it's not behaving well with Lightning. So I have to Classic for the formula editor.
All right,
we just
but we can see you. We can see your screen. Okay. That's great.
So it's just a simple formula checkbox fields. I love checkboxes. They're Boolean, true or false, or 0 or 1. And there's a function called month. And if you've never used month, what it does is it evaluates a date field like close date or a relative date like today, and it strips away the date, the day value, strips away the year value, and it only returns the numeric value of that month. So right now, today is January 24th. It doesn't care about the number 24, it doesn't care about the number 2020. It's going to go into today, and it's going to pull out the number 1. Month on today is going to go into that close date field, and it's going to pull out whatever number that opportunity close date was, or that donation close date was, or case close date. And it's, again, it's a simple less than or equal to operator. If the month of the close date is less than or equal to the month of the current month, it's going to return a checkbox field. And so the way that it works, very much like Skye's year-to-date formula, if I go into my report here, I just add that as my filter criteria. Close date, this is just what I call it for clarity's sake. My formula, my report filter is simply, is this checkbox field checked? And now I can see month by month where we were the first 24 days of the year. And tomorrow, without changing anything at all, I'll be able to see where I was as of the first 25 days of the month, comparing how I'm doing this month against previous months. We're in January, so that I didn't all-time filter. I'm also in my dev org, but this filter, just like Skye's year-to-date checkbox, will reset on the first of the month, and you never have to touch this report filter again. And you could actually use this in conjunction with Skye's year-to-date. You could do a year-to-date and month-to-date comparison in the same report. And one thing I kind of stumbled onto after I created this was you don't have to use this as a report filter. You can actually make it a report grouping to see what to expect, what came in months past after today's date. So you can kind of project what might be coming in those last 6 days of the month or last 7 days of the month.
That's yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm a horrible typist, especially under
Well,
especially under
everybody's
pressure.
watching you. Yes, absolutely.
And I'll get rid of the close date day, because that'll just like confuse things, I think. And then again, it's my dev org, so I actually don't know what this thing is gonna spit back at me. Okay, so we could actually see that, using, for example,
Interesting.
the month of December.
Yep.
$600,000 came in at the end of the month. Maybe there was a big, Christmas push. So we had a lot of donations come in the 25th, from the 25th onward. I mean, like this is my dev org, where I literally throw anything at the wall and see if it will stick. So.
Yeah, but I think this could be very reassuring to some development folks if they're looking at their monthly figures and thinking we may be a little down on this month. Then yeah, you can take some reassurance.
I left the filter on. I forgot to take it off.
There we go.
So because I was like, there's nothing.
Perfect. Nice. I wanted to leave just a little bit of time for something that Gorav wanted to show. This is really interesting, and great, we've got a Power of One example too. There's lots of chatter going on, and we're trying to make sure everybody knows where to find information about the Power of One. And let's if people keep talking with Maida about how she's sorting her fiscal year, let's go to Gorav, and if we have time, we can come back and dig into Mirella's question again. But Gorav, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Caroline. It's great to be here. And I will keep it quick. This is a demo of a couple of things. One of which is in I believe the winter release also, we went GA with the option to do calculations within a report, field-on-field comparisons, which are really cool. So the first concept was, I wanted to see, we have this event that runs every year, and I wanted to see how fast people were registering compared to previous years. So similar to the year-on-year stuff. But what I did was I compared the campaign member created date versus the campaign start date. And you just, I created a simple formula field on campaign member to get me a number, put a nice line chart together, and I can see how these things were going. And then when winter 13, actually this is the original using the days to register field. But when winter 19 came out, I realized I can do that in the report itself. So I don't need to create more formula fields littering things up. And you can see the data is exactly the same. So I'll just show quickly how that's done. And then in hindsight, it actually might change a little. But the approach, I think, could be really interesting for any kind of date field comparison. So let me go into edit real quick. And And this is what's called a row level formula. So that's why I call it RLF. And the formula is actually exactly the same. It uses the same syntax as a formula field. Cross object stuff gets a little weird. I haven't poked on the edges of this thing too hard yet, but you can see it's, you know, the field name is not what you would expect, right? It's not the API name of the field.
Gorav, can you check your sound? We can still see your screen, but I'm not sure we can hear you. Interesting. Yes. So I can see your screen. I can see that you're going, okay. All right. So you were talking about, we'll put it, we'll make it, we'll consider that it's a GoToMeeting gremlin, I think.
Maybe try stop sharing and coming back in.
Yeah, do you want to try? Exactly. There we go. Such a shame. You were just explaining how you were looking at the report values. Oh, you know what? We've lost you altogether. Okay. Skye, is that the same feature that you said you'd been experimenting with?
Well, I think he was going to show some additional formula, like doing the formulas and calculations within, but I'm happy to do a quick demo of just the field comparison feature that's beta in Winter 20.
Okay. I
I don't
think
know if he was ultimately going to get there after the formula piece.
I don't know. Unfortunately, we seem to. It looks like Gorav's gone offline, as far as I'm concerned. So, yes, let's make the most of just a couple of minutes that we have left, and you should be the presenter again.
Great. Are you able to see the sample filter by field comparison report? This is a feature that you do need to turn on, so we can share in the chat or in the hub the release notes for that and the directions of where to go to enable that feature. But I have set it up already just as a quick example in this report. And it's under the filter section whenever you're building and editing your reports. And this is just a quick way to kind of demonstrate it. It used to be that whenever filtering by a date, it was the value, just the value option, and you had the option to use relative, but you couldn't compare it to another particular field on that record. And with the new field comparison, you're able to choose a field and then select which corresponding field from that record you wanted to do the filter comparison by. So in this case, you could say I had it filtered where the last modified date is greater than the close date. The thought here being maybe someone in your org needs to know if anybody has edited a record after the close date. Now, of course, this being a demo org, almost all of these records, because I was editing and moving things around, meet that criteria. But you would be able to run those comparisons. Another example I can think of would be showing reports where you want to compare perhaps the asked value for maybe a grant or a major gift and show where the actual donation amount value was greater or less than the asked amount. But there's a lot of different ways that you can use these different field combinations to be able to filter your reports based on comparing two fields from the same record.
Fabulous. It wouldn't quite do Gorav's thing, would it? Because it's a bit more than just a comparison. Because what he was doing was he was doing a count, wasn't he? So he was, he was doing that where he was one date and subtracting the other date in order to get the number of days. But yeah, that's a nice. It was a nice feature too. But this is an interesting one, isn't it? I like the idea that, particularly for dates, it feels like it's a really useful thing to be able to compare two dates.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you for jumping in to show that. So I'm really sorry that we lost Gorav because he waited so patiently as we carried on through this session. I think we are up on the hour. Mader, I think let's take your question about fiscal years into the Power of Us Hub and kind of keep the conversation going. But for the purposes of this recording and for me to be mindful of everybody's time, thank you very much. We've done really well on attendees. We've an amazing amount of information has been shared. As always, these sessions are far too short for all the kind of mind-blowing things that everybody talks about. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Thank you very much indeed to our presenters. I know Evan has gone to his flight now. I'll follow up with Gorav. It's such a shame that we lost him. Thank you, Steve, for your comments and thoughts about
thanks for having me.
Power of One. And thank you, Skye, for a variety of really great demos and very clear and useful information. So everybody, as I say, I was recording and I'll post the recording as soon as I can get it processed. So good luck, everyone. You now have some real sort of power tips and super tools to do some excellent end of year reports, and we look forward to hearing how you all get on. So please post back in the hub. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, first Friday in February, with a general Q&A session. So